Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Thursday to you. Hope you're having an amazing day and hope you're enjoying some of the awesomeness here that we're seeing in the market. Bitcoin is going on a tear recently. It's really nice to see that. So, we're going to talk about how that affects Gala here, of course, and obviously understand what we should do in situations like these. Is Gala going to continue to run? Is it going to consolidate? We're going to see a lower price point. What's the deal there? Now, when we left off yesterday, there's a descending trend line that had to be broken in order for us to shift gears. We obviously broke that, so we want to kind of reevaluate and look at some things, right? So if you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. I hope you can learn something here today, of course. And if you do learn something, obviously consider joining the community. We got an amazing community over here. CryptoCash.tech is where you can register to become a community member. And what's great about that is it comes with signals too. I mean, you take a look at this here. Just today, a little bit ago, we took 95% in 20 days from Bitcoin. But more important, today at 7:30 a.m., we took another 94% from Bitcoin in 3 days. So again, some really awesome trades. Not just Bitcoin, of course. We got a handful of others. We got a nice Litecoin trade there, 113%. And of course, Bitcoin. That's one of my favorite coins to trade just because it's so predictable, as well as Ethereum, 152%. It kind of goes on, but regardless, that's kind of part of the situation here. And all my traders are doing very, very well. So super proud of them. Like this guy here, Jimmy, he's turned things around significantly. Started off with some kind of unfortunate events. We all do that, of course. You learn from it, but he's been pretty darn consistent here. Zach, look at that, 1,000%. While 125x is quite a lot, and he's not using a large position size, that's still fantastic, right? So keep up the great work, guys. Really love and appreciate everything you're doing here. Mechanical Investor, one of my favorite better emerging traders, and they're all using Bitget, as you can see, because what it does, it allows for us to benefit from a $10,000 prize pool monthly. We're going to have a prize pool here soon at the end of the month, where we have just a 2-week competition. Basically, very, very friendly situation where you just, based on trading volume and profit loss ratio, it's really easy to qualify. And if you use the link down below to register, you're automatically eligible for that. If you want to be eligible for this prize pool and you registered without my link, just send me over your user ID and I can get you added. It's really simple. That goes for my community members more specifically, but if you are new to the channel, that's fine too. Just keep in mind, you will need a VPN. I got your back covered though with ExpressVPN. I've been using them for years. They're fantastic. You get 3 months free with a 12-month plan. You'll need that for leverage if you plan to use leverage. You don't have to, but that's what the competition is through Bitget, okay? So here's what's going on with Gala. Really straightforward stuff here in the sense that it took off and spiked up right as soon as Bitcoin did. You take a look at this here, you can see the correlation. Shoot up here from Bitcoin, shoot up from Gala, correction from Gala, and more so consolidation and continuation for Bitcoin. So for lack of better terms here, they're both looking very good. But you got to understand that Gala is overextended leading into this. So you can't expect it to just shoot to the moon when Bitcoin just does another increase like it did today, okay? So that being said, how much further will this consolidate? Well, it looks like we're going to probably be range bound for a little while in this range here, okay? Because we can see there's a strong resistance level at right around 4.5 cents. And if we take a look at the daily, in fact, that's the best way to see it. You can see right there at the 4.2 range, that is a strong resistance level. We've wicked up 3 times and still haven't closed above. So it tells us in the full 24-hour trading period in these 4 trading days, the price has tried to break that level and cannot do that. Okay. Now, the more often you test a resistance level, the more likely it is to break, right? So there's a good chance if we continue this, we will see the price move higher. But that's a little ways off, right? We need a little bit more data to figure that out. So let's look at some other stuff, kind of see if that'll help us indicate if we're going to break through this resistance level or not. Okay, so first of all, we're overextended on the hourly, or correction, the daily for the RSI. Now, when you stay up above 70 on the RSI, that can have a tendency of contracting naturally, pulling you back. In other words, 70 is overbought, and 50 is kind of like the average where we should be. Okay, so in other words, we have a decent amount of volume, which is good. We got to keep in mind the volume increase is good, but as this volume starts to taper off, the price should also as well. Okay, so while Gala didn't drop as fast as I expected yesterday, but that's mainly because Bitcoin decided to pull its head out of its ass, we can see that Gala is doing moderately well because of the good conditions in the market. If Bitcoin does correct itself and come back down to the low 18s or 17s in that range, then we could definitely see a correction from Gala as well. It's not it's not exactly correlated, but it is aligned in some ways, right? You got to recognize that all altcoins have a tendency of following Bitcoin to an extent. That being said, RSI up over 70, I'm not going to feel comfortable with a long position from Gala until the RSI lowers. And what that basically just means is we have to kind of average out the amount of last trading days at a lower price point or at this price point, either or, to effectively get that down lower. And then it kind of becomes a natural thing. It's like, okay, great. 4.2 cents is normal for Gala. Right now it's still fresh and new and the price goes up and down a lot faster. So that said, I think patience is key. There is potential for it to break that resistance level soon. Keep that in mind. So if you have a position open, consider trimming some of your position, take some profits, but don't close the whole thing. Let it ride, right? That's the kind of concept that I like to kind of drive home here. That we're not in dire straits by any stretch, but it's a situation where it could very well fall fairly quick, but we're building a good support level at a certain range, right? So this being said here, we can see this starting to taper off a little bit. That's not really all that telling, but generally speaking, we're losing that momentum to the upside, which makes sense considering the circumstances. A lot of alts are getting that increase in value, and Gala, having already done that before this run, it's not seeing as much of an increase as other coins are because of that, right? So again, profitable coins are going to sell off first when Bitcoin goes up. It's kind of that natural ebbs and flows of altcoin and Bitcoin dominance. So taking a look at the 4-hour, let's kind of see what's going on here. First of all, moving averages, we can see we are testing the 20-day simple moving average. It's nothing really simple. It's a very simple indicator in that sense that we don't need to worry too much about that because the 20 just kind of tells us that different trends are emerging. The 50 and the 200 are more important, so as long as we stay over the 50 and the 200, I think we're in good shape there. So at this point, we can generally expect Gala to go sideways and up, but it will go sideways and down if Bitcoin has a stronger correction, okay? So just be prepared for that because Bitcoin is overextended. We're about 12 days into this continuation right now, and it doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense for Bitcoin to keep going up right now, even though it keeps going up. So again, a lot of things in trading that are supposed to happen don't happen in situations like these. For example, we had positive CPI data this morning. It was more so neutral, but positive that it wasn't going up for inflation, right? So in that general sense, that brings things here to a better situation overall, okay? Anyways, let's take a look at some other indicators and call it a day. We can see that the moving average divergence is diverging still, but you are starting to see this dissipation here in the momentum to the downside. That does help us understand that it is losing that momentum to the downside, and that potential further continuation up is likely. And again, the reason why I say that is because we're up over 50 on the RSI and we're not overextended to the downside at all, which is great. So in this situation here, if we take a look at TD sequential, we can kind of see we came down to an 8, got that natural reset, that bounce, and then it's counting up and going sideways. Which is great though about this is that it's kind of counting up and going sideways right at that resistance level. So better chance or potential for further upside. Okay, and again, the main reason why is because we broke this descending trend to the downside. In other words, if you look at this here on the hourly, probably a lot easier to see. You can see this descending trend that we identified yesterday, lower highs and lower lows. Now, right about this point, I made that video yesterday explaining that potential further downside makes a lot more sense, right? Because we are extending ourselves, or this was a healthy correction to the downside. That being said, instead of bouncing off this level, it bounced off this level because Bitcoin decided it wanted to shoot up instantly, okay? Keep in mind, hadn't Bitcoin done that, Gala probably could have continued to make lower highs and lower lows and or just went sideways. Instead, it went up and over as Bitcoin is doing. So again, it's important to recognize the correlation between Bitcoin and altcoins because that just kind of tells us that there's an alignment between those two, which is actually a good sign because the simple fact that Gala being overextended initially and now aligning itself with Bitcoin can actually be a positive sign there. You just got to keep in mind if Bitcoin corrects itself, Gala will too. Okay, there's a strong chance of that. Either way, taking a look at TD sequential here, we can kind of see we got that overextension to the downside, price action coming up, and obviously back down to an 8 here. So there is potential more room for growth, but generally speaking, this isn't really telling us too much, honestly, because on the hourly, when you see an overextension either direction, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to pull back or retrace. Plus, we got all this funkiness from Bitcoin kind of doing, whatever the heck it wants. I mean, look at this. We're approaching 19,000, which is a crazy cool thing to see but also very weird. We're not used to this kind of price action. So it's kind of cool in a strange way, right? But taking a look at the cloud here, this is kind of the ultimate thing here to me as far as waiting for confirmation. At this point, we can see the lagging span is intersecting with the price action soon too, right? Another 6 hours or so. So that would tell us that closing your position would be advantageous or just trimming your position, right? Again, let some ride. Maybe close 65 to 80% of your target or your first profit, and then let the rest kind of roll. That's typically how we like to do it. But if you can see the price is in the cloud right now, and typically when it's in the cloud, you don't want to really buy. Kind of a no buy zone. That's the general consensus. We can also see that there's not a lot of momentum. The conversion line is barely above the baseline, so this isn't really giving us a firm indication that we want to go long right now. So to me, again, the best method is kind of wait for confirmation. I think a closure today above 4.25 would be appropriate to give us that confirmation that's looking to go up. Okay, but we need Bitcoin to kind of calm down a little bit and kind of see how the market relaxes first before taking a trade. Because again, there's a lot of volatility right now, which is great. Don't get me wrong, the price going up from Bitcoin is fantastic. And Bitcoin dominance is up by almost 2%. And then all these other alts are going up as well. It's kind of a crazy cool thing. It means there's a lot of money coming into the market. And we're not kind of really used to that, but this is kind of something that we need to get prepared for because there is potential for the price action to continue. I do think we got a lot of resistance coming up for Bitcoin between 20 and 22,000, specifically with the 200-day SIP moving average. But that's a conversation for another day. I cover that in my Bitcoin videos daily. So obviously check that out in your own time. Anyways, the long story short here for Gala is I would just highly recommend waiting for confirmation. It seems like a juicy target because the price action could very well break to the upside. We do have this type of pennant pattern, which usually continues to ascend. I'm just a little concerned with Bitcoin being overextended. If it were to pull back, how is Gala going to react to that? We probably want to wait and see. That's just my personal opinion. So again, take some profits while you still can is my recommendation. Obviously, leave some money left to ride in case it does continue higher. We can reevaluate once we break through this resistance channel. But once again, 4.25 is a very strong resistance level. That is a case in point where we need to be kind of respectful there until it breaks above that level, right? I think a firm closure above 4.5 would give us the indication that we are in good shape. We're not quite there yet. All right, patience is key. I hope that you can learn from what I hopefully taught you here today, of course. CryptoCash.tech is the site if you want to become a better trader. Keep in mind, you do want to register before month end, essentially, to lock in your rate. We have a new website rolling out here in the next couple of weeks, and a lot of cool features involved with that. So very much looking forward to that and working with you as well. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. See you next one.